Hello everyone. This is going to be a lesson on simple past and present perfect. First of all, I would like to revise for those who don't know how to form a simple past. We form simple past of auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are irregular, like I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, a simple present, simple past, I was, you were, he was, she was, it was, we were, you were, they were, okay. If it is negative, it works exactly the same. I am not, I was not, so I wasn't. You aren't, you weren't, he wasn't, she wasn't, it wasn't, we weren't, you weren't, they weren't. If you have a question, use inversion. Was I, were you, was he, was she, was it? The same. With can. Can, the past, is could. I could, you could, he could, negative couldn't, question, could I, could you, inversion. Have. I have, you have, he has, simple present. Past, had. I had, you had, he had is always the same. If it is negative, hadn't or didn't have. If you have a question, had I, had you with inversion, or did you have is the same. Okay. Now, what about all the other verbs? About all the other verbs, we have, okay, shall we see? From the infinitive, to work, worked, worked. The first form, to work, is an infinitive, and from the infinitive, dilating to of the infinitive, we form simple present, present continuous, so I work as an habit, I'm working using adding ing, okay? And I have worked, present perfect, and I worked. Is instead the simple past. So we form the simple past of regular verbs using adding final ed. So subject, verb without to plus ed. I worked, I studied, I played, I walked, and so on. But if and worked again is the past participle, participio passato, okay? So, lavorare, lavorai, lavorato, that is in Italian. If you have to eat, ate, eaten is an irregular verbs, and the point with simple past is that there are many irregular verbs that you need to study by heart. To eat is one of them, just to show you. To eat is the infinitive. Ate is your simple past. Eaten is the past participle, okay? So I ate is your simple past. But if I say I work, I worked. Negative, I use the auxiliary do, simple present, did, simple past. I didn't work. So no final ed, because our past is here, is in the auxiliary, okay? For every person, I didn't work, you didn't work, you didn't work, etc. Question, do you work? Past, did you work? Work without final ed. This is just to form it. Now, the problem is not how to form it, it's quite easy, is to study irregular verbs that you can find in a list on the net. If you surf in the net and look for irregular verbs, you find the list and you need it to study by heart. There are quite many. Just start with the most important ones, and as a method, I would suggest to share them and study, I don't know, 5 per day, okay, because otherwise it's too much. Now, the point is, when do we use simple past? We use simple past to describe an action that is finished, completed, having no connection with the present. So the action is absolutely over. In Italian we say ieri sono andato. It's impossible in English. Yesterday I went. Andai. This is my simple past. The problem for you is not English. The problem for you is Italian. Because we use Italian quite often in a way that is not precise, that is not correct. Instead, English is very precise and very correct. If it is a simple past, means that there is no connection with the present. If there is no connection with the present, the action is finished. And if an action is finished, use a simple past. How do we understand that an action is finished? It's easy. Simple past is time-oriented. So whenever you have a question using when means quando, and quando means time. I went to the cinema yesterday. When did you go? Yesterday. I went yesterday. When is about time. Anytime you find the clues, indizi. Yesterday, I went to the cinema yesterday. The action is finished because yesterday has to do with time and time is finished. It's not today. Today is not finished. Yesterday is finished. Ago. Even if it is 2 minutes ago, it is finished. Mike called me 2 minutes ago. The action is over because there is ago. Last. Anytime you find last, the action is over. I met Mike last week. Last week is finished. Last month. It rained a lot last month. The month is over. Okay? We had a lot of COVID problems last year. Okay. Luckily, the year is over. We don't know about this year. But anyway, so basically, it's easy to recognize because anytime you have a date, 1984 is finished. The 4th of July is over. Anytime so you have a date, a year, a period of time that is completed, an action that is completed that happened once or that was repeated in time in the past, we use a simple past. That's it. Present perfect. Present perfect is formed with subject, have is your auxiliary, or has for the first person, he, she, it, has, plus past participle of the verb. The past participle is for regular verbs, final ed, the first one I wrote. For irregular verbs, the third column, eat, ate, eaten, is your past participle. Okay. So I have worked. He has worked. I have eaten. He has eaten. If you have a negative form, the negative form goes to the auxiliary. If you have a question, use inversion. Have I worked? No. Have you worked? Has he worked? Inversion. That's it. Now, the big mess for you is present perfect. Because present perfect, you say it corresponds to our passato prossimo. Ho lavorato, ho mangiato, ho fatto. Quando? Ho lavorato molto ieri. So the action is finished, can't be present perfect. I worked a lot yesterday. We go to simple past. Ma se io dico, but if I say I have worked a lot today, is the day finished? No. Can I go on working? Yes. So, when do we use present perfect? We use basically present perfect when we are talking about experience. Experience is my life experience. since I was born up to now, which is completely different from time. Experience versus time. Time is finished, experience is not. My life is going on and the action can be repeated. Okay. Usually we use ever and never. To simplify your life, we can use ever in question and never in answers, absolute negative answers. If I say, have you ever been in Paris? I don't know. If I don't know, I ask. But what I'm asking about? I'm asking about your life, your experience in life. Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe here, maybe there, maybe many years ago. But I'm not saying when, I'm saying have. Have you ever been? Have you ever done? Have you ever read? Have you ever studied? So I just want to know about your life experience. And yes, I have, no, I haven't. So if I say yes, I have, then you can go on and ask me when. When did you go to Paris? I went many years ago. Okay. And in this case, I specify time. The moment I specify time, I use a simple past. But if I talk about experience, I use present perfect. Have you ever read anything by Shakespeare? Yes, I have. I have read all of it because I love it. When, and this is my life, and maybe I can go on rereading Shakespeare in the future, possible, okay? But if you ask me when did you last read anything by Shakespeare, we go to time, maybe last year, maybe I read it last year. This is about time, not experience. Experience is what I have done in my life. So, have you ever played any sport? Oh yes, I've played many sports in my life. Any kind, I think so. What is the last sport you played? I swam yesterday. Okay. So, you see, time or experience. Now, there is another way to simplify your life. That is talking about a period of time that is not finished. If I talk about last week, last month, last year, the period of time is finished, so it's simple past. But if I talk about this week, today, this month, this year, the period of time is not finished. So today is Wednesday. This is our week. How many times has to do with a quantity, not with time, okay? Quante volte is a quantity, or how much is a quantity, is not time. So how many times have you been out in the evening this week? Wednesday, the week is not over. I have been out in the evening once this week. But the week is not finished. I may go out every single night. It's possible. Until Sunday night. Sunday included. So that's the end of the story when you go to sleep Sunday night. If we get to Saturday, have you been out this week? Yes, I've been out a couple of times, or 3 times, or I don't know what. Okay. But the week is not finished. The same for the month and the same for the years. Have you been away many weekends this year? None for me, but maybe a couple for you, okay? So I've been away a couple of weekends this year, but the year is not finished. There are plenty of weekends in order to finish the year, okay? So we may go away again. And we are talking about experience, and we are talking about this, when the period of time is not finished. If I tell you, I've been to the post office this morning and the morning is not finished, I may go back if I work in an office. But if the morning is finished, I would say I went to the post office this morning, because now it's afternoon. It's no longer morning, okay? Ever, never, we said ever for question. Have you ever read, have you ever been, have you ever done, okay? It's about talking about your experience. And never is an absolute negative form, so the verb goes positive. There is not the double negative form in English. I haven't, never is not possible. I have never. I have never been in Madrid, okay? But I have been in London. Anytime we find recently, lately, so far, up to now, we use present perfect. I have had a very interesting conversation lately. I'm talking about my experience. I'm not saying exactly when, but I can say I had a very interesting conversation half an hour ago. Half an hour ago is finished. There is a go. So you see, it depends on the clues that you find. If you find recently can be half an hour ago or 10 minutes ago, you use present perfect. But if you find the go, it's finished. It's simple past. That's it. So far, finora. Up to now, finora. Then we use present perfect anytime we find just, appena. I have just had lunch. I have already had lunch. Ho appena pranzato, ho già pranzato. I haven't had lunch yet. Non ho ancora pranzato. So we use yet in negative sentence at the end of the sentence. And the first time, remember that, is the first time, is the second time, is the third time. This is very tricky, and they use in test. They put in the first, they put in IELTS to cheat you. Because è la prima volta che guido, in Italian is always simple present. Okay, we use a simple present for any situation, but in English not. Because if I say it's the first time, means that probably there may be a second time, third time, I may repeat the action. It's not finished. So it's the first time I have driven a car. It's the first time I have eaten Chinese. It's the second time I have eaten Japanese. Present perfect. Last time about present perfect. That is not very easy, but I would like to see it. It's about, we use a present perfect when we are talking about the result of an action, not the action itself. So what do I mean for the result of an action? There is a glass window there. Okay, let us suppose that we get into this class and the glass window is broken. I don't say someone broke the window. I'm saying because the window is still broken and there are bits of glass on the floor, this is a consequence of the action, I would say someone has broken the window, because this is the result of an action. The window is still broken and the glass is still on the floor. So someone has broken the window. But if we get into this class and the window is okay, like now, but I know that someone did it last week or yesterday and someone repaired it, I would say someone broke the window, because now the window is okay. There is a glass of water. Okay, and my bottle of water. Another example. The glass, there is water in the glass. I leave the class and come back. The glass now has some water inside. When I come back, it's empty. So I would say someone has drank my water. The glass is empty, because the glass is in itself the result of an action. It's empty now. Someone has drank my water. Not someone drank my water, has drank, because the glass is empty and is still on the table. Let us suppose, this is typical of smokers, I like this example very much. Let us suppose that we have a packet of cigarettes. Let us suppose that, smokers count their cigarettes and there is one left, okay? And they leave the packet on the floor, on the table with a cigarette inside. They go away, come back, the packet is empty, no cigarette. But the packet is still on the table. So this is the result of my action, and it's not full, it's empty. So they would say, come on, someone has smoked all my cigarettes. The packet is empty. It's the result of an action. Okay? That's it. That's the end of present perfect. Hope I was clear enough.